Hey guys, James here again, and today we are with a gun that I waited for quite a while to get my hands on. But yeah, well worth it. And this is the FX Impact. Now this was, when it kind of came out, the most eagerly anticipated rifle that I can remember in quite a while. And when I first saw it, I decided, yeah, that one's for me. Now it's a multi-caliber rifle. We have the sub 12 foot-pound version of in 177 today. We still don't have the 22 barrel, so we'll be focusing on the 177 side of things. Obviously there's this nice carbon fibre body bottle at the front that makes it quite distinctive, and this AR style design for the action. You can see the grips here, interchangeable, and then obviously the stock's very skeletonized. Now I will make one thing clear before we go on. This video here is, as far as I'm aware, one of the few at the moment that is a truly kind of user-based review. FX did not supply this rifle. I have not been paid by them to make the review at all. I, as I said earlier, like everybody else, had to wait, well, me personally, 18 months for this rifle to come in. And then when it did, I paid with my hard-earned overtime. So this is very much going to be a user's review. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of give you a nice, honest review of what the impact is, rather than the official jargon that I think a lot of channels kind of spew out. But yeah, that's a different video. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll take a closer look at the FX. And yeah, let's crack on with the review. Okay, so we'll start off with a couple of sort of the key design features. Now, as you can see, this is, it's been described as a bullpup. Personally, I wouldn't describe it as a bullpup. I would still call this a carbine, because all of the action is here. Your hammer, extra, everything is here. The only thing getting transported to the back is air, and that goes in for a little fill port here, and you can see the tube coming along here. But it does sit and it feels like a carbine, which is quite nice. Now moving forward, you do have the AR-15 style grip. Now this is interchangeable. If you do want to go on, you know, places like Brownells, or if you're in the States, basically anywhere, you can get AR-15 grips. So if you're not happy with the supplied Hogue, which I will add was it's a really nice comfortable grip, so this one will be staying on mine, then yeah, you do have options. You can get your ergonomic grips, your Magpul grips if you want to fit it out with Magpul, etc. And yeah, you can swap that over. Now moving forward, obviously you do have the safety selector switch. Now this is a really simple design. You can adjust it with your trigger finger. So it's forward for safe, and then when it's down, you're in fire, which is a really nice kind of thing to start off with. The side lever, now this is where you charge the rifle. Now unlike a few bullpups that are out on the market, just wait for the camera to focus, unlike a few bullpups that are on the market, they've kept the lever forward. So rather than this tickling your ear rubbish that you get with a few of the other bullpups around, it's literally a really quick action like so. And then if you do want to decock it, what I do is just hold this, pull the trigger in when it's on fire, and you can release the hammer forward if you're not going to shoot, or if you're ready, sort of done for the rest of your day. Now, one thing that you will notice, this isn't the easiest rifle to fit a bipod to. They do have a 20mm rail on the bottom, of which you can fit, well, anything. If you've got a 20mm rail, you can adapt it off to a QD stud if you want to run a Harris bipod, or, you know, like myself, you can buy it's basically an Atlas clone. It's not an Atlas bipod. There's no way I could justify sinking sort of £250 into a bipod. Instead, I paid about 60, and yeah, I've had it in the field for a couple of months now, and it's holding its own. It does its job. Now, the body bottle on the front here, moving forward from the rail, is detachable. It's not something I have done personally, and it does fill all the way up to basically 250 bar. That's the recommended fill pressure. Now it's a carbon fibre bottle. Now when I first picked it up, I am used to metal cylinders off the Airwolf, off the HW, and it's not a smooth texture. It is carbon fibre, but it's amazingly light. It helps keep the balance of the rifle pretty much where it needs to be, which is in the middle. So when you're holding the rifle, it sits perfectly balanced in here. Now moving forward, this was the bit that kind of got me kind of interested as such, if that's the right word, and you do have the shroud. Now the barrel, bearing in mind, finishes back here, is a full length barrel, so although it's a bullpup, you do have a full length barrel with it, but the shroud is adjustable. Now when it's quiet like so, we'll see if this will work. Put it into fire. It's got a bit of a crack to it. It's not a big crack, but nevertheless it's quite a noticeable kind of bang. Now personally, when I'm out on the farm, I don't mind that. if you're in the field further down, or if guys were up at the top there, whatever, it's still a very muffled noise. But this is the good bit, you can extend the shroud forward and it still remains a very short gun, but, touch wood, literally all you can hear is the noise of the hammer coming forward. It's quite something. Now, I have seen people running carbon fibre shrouds. There are a couple of people that are doing sort of custom mods. I have seen people running Huggets. Now, me personally, I do like blingy things, hence the impact, but I don't really think it needs it. When the shroud is extended, it is sufficiently quiet. Now, more sort of 20mm madness. On the sides, you do have 20mm rails. Now, what I tend to do is, in a moment when you see, I run the ATN Excite. Now, I run the torch on the side. It's just easy for me to swip the end of the torch without having to extend too far in any direction. So that's quite nice. And you do have a rail on this side as well if you want lasers, flashlights. Yeah, literally the possibilities are endless. Now, on the top, you are, well, the options for what you can run on this gun are limitless, really. It's a 20mm rail on the top. And we'll go into a few other bits in a moment, but I run, as you'll see here, I've got two different sets of optics. I've got the ATN Excite, which I use a majority of the time really. As a day scope goes, it's really good, and as a night scope goes, it's amazing. So the ATN Excite spends most of its time on the rifle, but as you'll also see, I do have the Hawk Sidewinder. Now the Sidewinder is for when I want to do targets, when I want to get really precise. There's something quite reassuring about getting behind a traditional optic rather than sort of a computer gadget gizmo, which, yeah, it's got its place, but precision wise the scope always will win, in my personal humble opinion. Now this wouldn't be an honest review without me mentioning the problems. Now, when the Impact first came out, batch 1 came out, and there was a lot of talk about the 20mm rail on the top. A lot of people saying that spacings weren't right, it wasn't true pick or weaver, it was the right width, but the spacings weren't quite right. So if you're running sort of a one-piece mount, like on the Excite that you saw there, or if you're running sort of like the American Defence mounts, etc., they just didn't fit, which, yeah, was a bit of a problem, and a few people did mention it. Now, I'm pleased to say, with the batch 2, which this was, that has been addressed and it's been fixed. So if you're using one-piece mounts, it will fit this rail perfectly. Now, one thing I will say, and this is something that I picked up from one of the chaps that I shoot with, when you're mounting your mounts on, they clip into these little rails brilliantly, and they do hold the zero if you're swapping between. As you saw a minute ago, I've got the Sidewinder and the Excite. Now, they do swap and they do hold their zero, which is a really interesting and positive thing to have. But one thing that the guys that I shoot with told me was, when you're mounting in the rails, just push the bar up so it rests against the front of the rail. Now, this goes back to centre fire, big gun shooting, but it basically means that you know the exact position. It's not halfway in the spacing or at the back or whatever. You know that when you mount your rail, it's at the front and it sits perfectly. So yeah, as I say, that's all sorted as far as I'm concerned, with this rifle anyway. And yeah, full length 20mm rail, so the options really are limitless. Now, problem 2 that I know even Ted picked up on was the fill port. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, so we'll probably just cut to a close-up. But when the Impact first came out, the bottom here was flush. Now, to keep this sleek look on the bottom of the guard, they have sunk the fill port in quite a bit. Now, it is a Foster connection, but because it's its own little kind of housing, I would recommend only using the FX supplied probe. It fits in the hole brilliantly, comes back out, and it is the right size, which is ideal. But what they did with batch 2, at least, I don't know if they did it with the first batch, but there is a recessed section here, which hopefully you'll be able to see on the screen. Now, I've found in the time that I've owned this gun, due to the shot count, which we'll get into in a second, I've only actually had to fill it up with air 3 times now, and each time it's been really easy. I mean, you know, it's a dirty habit, I bite my nails, and even I can get the probe on and off with no problem at all. So again, another thing that FX have taken on board, you know, they do listen to the users, so, and they've changed it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a bit of a no problem now. Yeah, works perfectly. Now, this was the bit that I was kind of most concerned about. Now, when you're spending, I think this one came in about sort of, it's about £1,800. These are very expensive rifles. And one thing that people that are forking out, you know, almost £2,000 for a rifle will be wanting is superb quality control. Now I saw pictures when they first came out of where the rails meet the top of the receiver here. It looked like it had been attacked by an angle grinder, etc. And I'll be honest, when I bought the gun, obviously, as I said at the start, this is my own gun, bought with my own money. If there was a problem, I'd be the first to shout about it. And I have to say, I was a little bit worried when I saw these reports coming out saying there's leaks and there's, you know, quality control issues and things like that. I did get worried, but I thought I'll leave it on order, we'll see what happens. And yeah, when it comes out, I'll be honest. And I hate to be that guy, but there isn't a problem. I've been over this gun with a fine tooth comb and I can't see any problems. It was the same when the Wildcat came out. Everybody was going, you know, slating it, saying this, that, the other. And I bought one and it was absolutely fine. So the only problems I could see was where people were dismantling the guns, trying to tinker with the adjustable or non-adjustable bits in this case, and then ended up with problems. Now, out of the box, this rifle has not been fixed, it has not been fettled, tuned, anything. I picked it up the box, I put the pellets in the magazine, and off we went. Now I can confirm that there was absolutely no problems at all with this gun. Now I have put thousands of rounds through this gun, up at the farm target shooting, you know, at the club before all that happened, but yeah, we won't go into that. And it really hasn't faulted. The only issue that we had, as you might have seen in a video recently, was I had a problem with Day State Sovereign pellets, and that turned out just to be the pellets. They weren't really bonding with the magazine well. I've swapped over the JSB Exacts, which, interesting, is what FX set these guns up with and for, and it works perfectly. So yeah, really impressed. I've had no leaks. The reg pressure, you know, obviously the fill pressure, and there is a regulator gauge on the bottom here. There has been concerns that they're not reading true. This one, when I've compared it against my bottle, touch wood, has been absolutely fine. And yeah, one thing I will point out, obviously, if people are watching this thinking, oh yeah, but you know, you run a YouTube channel, this was an off-the-box or an off-the-shelf gun. As I said at the start, wasn't supplied to me, wasn't made specially, it's just one that got sent when ASI had one down to my local gun shop. So as far as I'm concerned, this is how FX is sending them off the shelf. So anyway, let's move into sort of the technical side of things, and let's move the review forward. Okay, so swapping the gun over, let's move into the differences. Now, as I said at the start, this is a sub 12 foot-pound version. So currently in the UK, you do not need any licensing to own this gun. Yeah, this is a normal air gun, or as normal as FX are ever going to be. And yeah, there are a couple of things you can adjust. Now, the first thing that I will briefly mention, because I can't show you today, is you can change the caliber. Now, this was a big thing when it came out, that it was multi-caliber. Now, it's a really easy thing to do. You simply unscrew this lug here, and the barrel simply pulls out. It's really easy to do, nice and simple. It takes a couple of seconds, and then you just have to change the fill probe again with an Allen key. Just comes out, new one goes in, tighten it up. Now, I can't show you that because ASI still haven't sent the barrel. We had an email saying, yep, they're in stock in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks went, a month came. Phoned them up, said, you know, have we got a better idea of when it's going to arrive? Yeah, no, we've just sold out. So I don't really know what they're up to. We have one on order. It will turn up at some point. As I said at the start of the video, demand for these guns is pretty high, and I'd imagine 22 caliber, especially for the States and the FAC guys, is going to be a really popular caliber to go for. So yeah, it is multi-caliber, but we can't show you that today. Now, the other thing that a lot of people, as I said at the start, if you've watched Ted's video or Matt's, it is adjustable. Now, because of our laws, we can't adjust the hammer spring tension. Obviously, that affects the velocity and the foot poundage quite a lot, and also with the regulator. Those two are pretty much locked off. You can see on the front here, it's not the same twist system that you get on the firearms or the rest of the world versions, as I'm going to call them. However, you still do get the power wheel. Now, we have done some experimenting with the power wheel. I will do a separate video of that in full detail. And what I can tell you is we've worked through from 1 to 5 to max. Well, basically from low to max, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it gives you about a 10% difference in velocity each time. So it affects the overall performance of the gun by about 10%. So you can rake the gun back. I think we got it down to about 8 foot-pounds, I think was the final kind of low power setting, which if you're in a barn and you just want to shoot a pigeon at like 15 yards but you don't want to blow a hole through your roof, is perfect. Now my gun, being me, runs on max all the time. I find it groups better on 5 ever so slightly, but max power, it's not enough for me to not run it on the maximum. And I think it came in at about 11.2, 11.3 foot-pounds, which is a good comfortable velocity to be running your rifle at. So as I say, it's a really simple one. You just twist it, and it's got a little locking lug, and you'll see it along here. Every time you adjust it, you can just see it moving forward. And when they go into position, it's got a little ball bearing indent on the back, so you don't have to worry about knocking it as you're walking around with it on a sling or whatever. It just stays in place, which is quite nice. Now the regulator I will go into a little bit. Because it's non-adjustable, it comes set from the factory, and it comes set at 50 bar, and you can see that on the bottom here. Obviously you got reg pressure on this monitor, and then the fill pressure on this one. So yeah, it's all there for you to see. It's really easy. Now I have seen people, there's a company called Effective Tuning that are turning it up to 75 bar. Apparently they reckon it gives extra performance. So what we'll do is we'll do all the shooting tests with it as it is out the box, and I'm quite tempted to send it off, get it tuned, and just see if it makes any difference. It's something I've always wanted to try with the HW, with the Wildcat, but to be fair, they shoot brilliantly, and this is no difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the shooting side of the test here. Now I'm going to set my target out at 35 yards, and we are going to be shooting through the ATN X sight. So you will be able to see what I can see target wise. I will put a camera either next to me or at the target so you can see what's going on there. And yeah, we'll go into sort of the shooting side. Now I'll be firing 10-shot groups, and I'll be shooting, correction, that was a bit of a jolt, wasn't it? I will be shooting 10-shot groups, and I'll be using JSB exact pellets. As I say, 177 8.44 grain. So 10-shot groups at 35 yards. Let's crack on. Okay, so it's worth just, before we start, just going into the magazines. Now the magazines are, if you've not run an FX rifle before that uses this style of mag, so if you haven't used the Royale or whatever, it's worth having a look at the instruction manual. It's a bit of a weird way to load it, but once you get the hang of it, really, really easy. It's very, very simple to do. Now the magazine that came with my my Impact was a 21 round 177 mag. So if you're out in the field reloading, you're just not going to have to worry about it. Anyway, loading the rifle, really simple. Bring the bolt to the rear until it clicks. You hear the click, and then you simply just put the magazine in, like so. Bolt forward, and yeah, let's make a start. Now it's worth, you know, before we swap to ATN cam, I'm running 8.1 magnification on this, and we're at 35 yards. So it's 35 yards, 8 times mag, for our little 177 pellets. So let's crack on. There we go, last shot. Now when the magazine is rotated around, there is a little plastic stop that just stops the lever going forward. Now obviously, don't try and push it forward because you'll end up sort of bending your field probe. But it's a decent thing to have. You know when your last shot is, so you're not going to lose any air or lose that precious shot from something running away because you've just loaded up an empty chamber. So we take the magazine out, just decock it. Let's go and have a look at what we've done. So as you'll see on screen there, guys, that was 10 rounds at 35 yards through the X sight. Now I said earlier, when I do targets, I prefer to use the Sidewinder, but at the moment it's just come back from warranty. So yeah, I use the X-Sight, and obviously it gives you a chance to see what I can see, which, yeah, a bit of a different perspective. But as you see from the target here, that's 10 rounds at 35 yards, unsalted pellets. They're not lubed, washed, anything like that, just normal pellets, and I can cover them with a 5p piece, which for you guys in the States, if you're not familiar with our currency, is about that big. So it's not very big, and all of those shots placed where they should have been would have been kill shots. Now as you see from the target, it's a little bit lower than maybe where it should have been. I was aiming in the centre because that's where I wanted my point of aim to be, and then the group was wherever the group was. Now that's because we've been messing around with this at slightly longer ranges, so I've got it zeroed now out a little bit further, but that'll be a video that's coming hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe months, depending on when I can get round to editing it. So yeah, we'll carry on shooting for a second, and let's just have a bit more fun with the X-Sight and the FX Impact. So as you can see there, that was a little bit rush shots, so they weren't as tight, but I did a sort of a main group, and then we went off and did a separate group, so all 21 rounds went on paper, in whatever order I decided, and yeah, I'm still relatively happy with that. That would have been kill shots wherever it would have landed, so yeah, I'm happy with that. So what we'll do is we'll move out, and we'll just come on to the conclusion for the FX Impact. Now as you see guys, the results kind of speak for themselves on that one. It is a very accurate gun. Now one thing I will do, just before I just go into a couple of final sort of bits and pieces really, is just say that getting to shoot the FX Impact, a couple of the guys that I shoot with have had a go. Obviously when it's out, I always kind of say, you know, what do you think of this, and get people to try it out. It's always nice to get a second opinion or a third opinion. And one thing that we've all really kind of come up with that is sort of worth kind of bearing in mind if you're going to buy one of these, is it's a very, I don't know what the right, it's a different gun to shoot because of the position of the bipod. I mean, unlike a lot of guns which are usually quite front, sort of they're stabilised at the front under here, the bipod does sit back quite a long way. Now that's fine, but it's a different shooting position, it's a different shooting style, and it's something that you've got to get used to. Once you've mastered that, as you saw in the video there, you can get some really, really impressive groups. Now one thing I have just done afterwards, I've been sat down watching videos that Matt did, and he mentioned obviously about cleaning the barrels because of an agent that's put in during the manufacturing process. Now I have just cleaned the barrels out, you might be able to see now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do some more groupings with the Sidewinder once I've had a chance to set it up. And we'll see if cleaning the barrel has made any difference, because out of the box, as I say, I haven't tinkered with this at all. And it's just pulled off groupings like that. I mean, 5p groupings at 35 yards, for what I want, that's perfect. So yeah, we'll come back to that and we'll look into that a little bit more detail. But so moving on from that point of view, sort of my final thoughts. Now there are things that I have missed out during the review, and for good reason really. We've all seen them in different reviews. It's pointless me going over different or the same territories, we say, and yeah, just doing the same video as everybody else. Now a couple of things I did miss out: the adjustable butt plate that you'll hopefully see here. You could adjust it to fit, and it works absolutely fine. Obviously the trigger is adjustable as well. You can adjust that, both the position of the blade itself and also in the little screws in the top that are underneath. Same as most FX triggers, you can adjust them. As I say, I haven't touched it. Out of the box, this trigger has been absolutely superb. So yeah, I haven't touched it. So that's just a couple of things that I've missed out, but you know, it's just basic stuff. I mean, even the smooth twist barrel, I haven't mentioned that, but it is FX kind of, that is their thing. I know they're moving on to Smooth Twist X, which will be with the crown, which I'll possibly have a look at. But, you know, it depends, one, what price it comes in at, and two, yeah, just a couple of different things. But as I say, the Impact, going back to sort of that really. Now, when it came out, I didn't get one. I was promised one by ASI. I was quite vocal about the fact that ASI were messing me around. Now that was a problem with ASI, not FX. That was just being told different things. That's why I was a little bit annoyed at that. But with it coming in at the second batch, I got, well, another thing I forgot to mention, obviously we got the new carry case. Now when they first came in, it was a takedown case. The barrel came out, and to be honest, I was going to buy a gun slip because I didn't really like the idea of having the barrel out each time. Now I know it doesn't affect POI or anything like that, but once I've got a gun set up, I like to kind of keep it as it is. So I was really pleased when we had that case come through. Now, in the time that I've had the Impact, obviously after being messed around, seeing all these problems reported online, part of me expected not to like it. And yeah, I set out on the test with a bit of an open mind. I thought, well, that's their problems. We had the same with the Wildcat, same with the HW110s, 100s. It's a common thing. So I thought I'll keep my mind open and I'll make my own conclusion. And my conclusion is this, that alright, it is expensive, £1,800, it's not cheap. But this is the best rifle I think I've ever owned. Now, the 100 is still my preferred gun, but that's because I've had it a lot longer, I've got it set up, I know that gun in and out. But now that I'm getting to know this one, this is surpassing the 100 easily. Now, would I recommend buying it? If you're in a position financially to pick one up, go for it. Cannot fault it at all. If you're not in the position to fork out £1,800, then yeah, the 100, have a look at that. The Wildcat, in fact, have a look at that. Or even hang fire until this new Crown comes out, because by all intents and purposes, that's going to be similar spec to this, but a little bit more traditional. Now the styling is very much love it or hate it. Me personally, I love it. It fits what I want perfectly. For indoors, it's really kind of smooth. And what I did notice as well, with this bipod on the bottom, if you tuck your elbow in, it's a really, really comfortable shooting position. It just sits perfectly. So standing shots, I mean, I thought the Wildcat was good, but standing shots with this are something else. So yeah, as I'm sure you would have guessed, I absolutely loved it. Now, a huge thank you to the guys at the gun room down in Ivorybridge. Those guys were basically on my side all the way through. And they kept following it up and following it up and following it up. I'm pretty certain when it turned up, I think they were relieved that one, it meant that I would go away, and two, I think at the start they said, you know, we really hope you like it, because obviously you've been waiting for it for a long time, and I think they were a little bit concerned about that. So guys, if you are watching, I absolutely love it. It's the best thing I've bought from you so far. I'll be back in hopefully on Thursday to pick up a new rifle as well, so you'll be seeing that soon. But anyway, until our latest video comes out, thank you very much for watching. If you want to know a little bit more, go and check out FX Airgun's website. It's all listed on there. You'll be able to see everything that they do, everything that they're coming out with. And yeah, a brilliant company. As I say, this isn't a sponsored video or anything like that. This is just, you know, some bloke with one of their guns that's had a go. So yeah, thanks for watching. Any questions, any comments? Obviously there's a few things I know will probably come up. Feel free to post them in the comments box below. If you want to see more from us, feel free to subscribe as well. Despite YouTube's attempts, we are still going. So yeah, feel free to subscribe there. And also check us out on our Facebook page as well if you haven't already. I've got loads more pictures of this being used, and we do like little tests and bits and pieces on there. So feel free, just search Replica Reviews and we'll pop straight back up. And yeah, anyway, until our next video guys, thanks for watching.